Navigating the first steps of recovery can feel, well, it can feel like you're lost in a really thick fog. Everything inside can seem confusing, uncomfortable, and just so hard to put into words. So think of this as a small light in that fog. It's a tool for finding a little bit of clarity, and it's all based on the science of what's actually happening in your brain as it starts to heal.
Okay, so let's talk about this difficult state, because when you first become abstinent, it often kicks off this wave of really challenging feelings and sensations. You can feel so isolated. But it's so important to understand that what you're going through isn't some kind of weakness. It's not a moral failing, it's biology.
You know, sometimes the hardest feeling isn't a big, dramatic one. Sometimes it's feeling nothing at all. Just this sense of flatness, of emptiness. Maybe you notice you just can't feel joy in the things that you used to love. It's like the color has been turned down on the world, and you're just going through the motions.
Well, that feeling of nothing, it actually has a name. It's called anhedonia. And it's one of the most common things people experience during withdrawal. It's a clinical term, sure, but all it means is that your brain's pleasure and reward systems are temporarily offline. They're recalibrating.
And right alongside that feeling of nothingness, you might get its counterpart, dysphoria. Now, this isn't just being sad. It's a deep sense of unease, that nagging, hard-to-pin-down feeling that things are just wrong. And again, this is a totally normal, well-documented biological state during withdrawal.
So, if we know these are just recognized biological states, why do they so often feel like we've done something wrong? Why do anhedonia and dysphoria get so tangled up with this really deep, painful feeling of shame?
The answer, it turns out, has less to do with our own biology and way more to do with the stories our culture has told us and that we've told ourselves about addiction. We just sort of absorb them, and they completely shape how we see what's happening inside of us.
And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? For centuries, the main story out there wasn't that addiction is a medical condition. The story was that it's a moral one, a failure of your character, a weakness in your will.
And that's the whole problem. That old story creates shame. And here's the kicker. Shame actually triggers your brain's stress system. It floods your body with stress hormones that make the dysphoria and the anhedonia even worse. It's this vicious cycle. But the science, what we know about the brain, it gives us a new story, a much more accurate one, and a much kinder one.
So let's look at what's really going on in there. When you stop using a substance, your brain, which got used to having it around, has to completely readapt. It has to find its way back to balance all on its own.
This right here is the most important thing I want you to take away from all of this. That feeling of flatness, that unease, the irritability, none of that is a reflection of who you are as a person. They are predictable, they are measurable symptoms of a brain that is in the middle of a massive healing process.
And look, this isn't about one specific substance. As you can see here, things like depression and anxiety are just classic signs of withdrawal across the board. Alcohol, cocaine, nicotine, cannabis, it doesn't matter. These symptoms are an expected part of the journey. You are absolutely not alone in this. It's a shared, biological road. I think this image is a great way to think about it. Your brain isn't broken. It's just in this really dynamic state of change. It's working so hard to rebuild pathways and get back to its natural balance. It's just recalibrating.
Okay, so knowing all of this is one thing, right? But how do you actually use this information when you're in a moment of real distress? Let's walk through a super simple tool you can use to create just a little bit of space, a little pocket of clarity, even when you feel completely overwhelmed.
So it's just 3 steps. First, you just notice the feeling. Don't judge it, don't try to fix it, just acknowledge it's there. The flatness, the anxiety, whatever it is. Second, you name the biology behind it. Give it its proper name. And third, you consciously let go of that old story, the one about being a failure, the one that's full of shame. So in a real moment, it might sound something like this. You feel that wave of emptiness wash over you. And you can say to yourself, either in your head or out loud, okay, I notice this feeling of flatness. This isn't me. This is anhedonia. This is a symptom of my brain healing. See what that does? It creates this tiny bit of space between you and the feeling. It turns this big personal crisis into an impersonal, temporary, biological process that you're just observing.
And really, that shift in perspective, from seeing this as a moral failing to seeing it as a biological process, that's everything. It's about starting to treat addiction with the same basic understanding we give to any other chronic health condition.
And check this out, because this chart really puts it into perspective. It shows that the relapse rates for addiction are right in the same ballpark as other chronic illnesses like type 1 diabetes and asthma. We would never, ever shame someone with asthma for having an asthma attack, right? We get that as part of their condition. Addiction deserves that exact same evidence-based compassion.
So if you don't remember anything else, please just try to remember these 3 things. First, the difficult state you're in, it's biological. It has nothing to do with your character. Second, it is temporary, even when it feels like it will last forever. And third, and this is the most important one, it is a sign that your brain is actively, right now, healing.
So even when your mind feels like a total storm, you can always come back to what is simple and true. Your body is here, your breath is here, this moment is here, and right here, in this moment, you have this clarity.